Let's discuss capsular excess in a MSICS case. Staining is optional, but it helps in visualization, especially in cases of high-grade cataracts. The pupil, if you notice, is not fully dilated, which makes it more likely that the capsular dye is going to go behind the iris and get stuck in the fornicis, in the sulcus. So a little more irrigation is required in such cases. And when you go in with a viscoelastic, as you can notice in this case, a significant amount of dye was still left behind. So all you need to do is just direct the cannula of the viscoelastic a little more posteriorly so that it enters the sulcus and takes out whatever dye that is remaining for better visualization. Now, capsular excess in MSICS is all about the size. The shape doesn't really matter as much. The size is critical because you are delivering the nucleus in toto as a whole. So it needs to be large enough so that zonular stress is avoided. So notice the initiation of this capsular excess. I'm not too happy about two things here. One is the initiation isn't really linear. I'm going a little more circular. So I need to spend a little more time to recover and bring the raised flap in a more circular fashion. I could have made it a little more linear, gone a little more into the periphery so it becomes a straight incision, but it's okay, it's recoverable. You just need a little more time. The second thing is that my fingers keep coming into the surgical space. That is probably because the cystotome is the first bend of the cystotome is at a very acute angle. Making it a little more obtuse can help in allowing the fingers to stay out and hence a good visualization while maintaining the grip on the capsular excess. So this is the relatively easier part. Since I'm left-handed, this is my left side port, it makes it easier for me to perform this part of the excess because it is just a push mechanism. I'm using the pupillary margin as a guide to the direction as well as the extent of the capsular excess. Here I start feeling that it is running out a little bit. I can't see the margin anymore, which is probably because the viscoelastic substance has leaked, a significant amount has leaked out by now. So what do? You inject more viscoelastic, you deepen the AC again. Most of it is complete, it's approximately one quadrant left. It's very important to flatten whatever capsular excess you have done till now to prevent artifactual multiple images, confusing images of the capsular excess. And this is where staining helps. So now you go back in. My aim here is to try and make a more centripetal force, pulling the capsular excess a little inwards. And I succeed, but I have created a small issue. There is a capsular tag, there is a small offset that is present at the entry point and the exit point of the capsular excess. In an MSICS case, it doesn't really pose much of a trouble, but it can always run out during hydrodissection or hydrodelineation or during nucleus prolapse or during IOL placement. The optic haptic or junction or the haptic can get stuck into this tag, and it could lead to a runoff of the capsular excess with subsequent posterior capsular rupture. The second problem that can happen with such tags is during irrigation aspiration, you can have accidental catching of this area because it might appear like a cortical tag, and that can lead to zonular dialysis, so on and so forth. So the white arrowhead is where I am pointing to the capsular tag and the offset of the capsular excess margin. So what am I trying to do? You can leave it, of course, but I would like to be a little more safe in this scenario. I do not want a runoff. So I inject a little more viscoelastic to try and flatten the flap onto itself, the tag onto itself, increase the magnification. And here you can appreciate the tag a little more. Those black arrowheads correspond roughly to the shape of the tag that exists. So not much to do in terms of technical skill. You just go in on a higher magnification so that you know what you're holding. Go in with your cystotome itself. You can do this with a capsular excess forceps as well, but for that you need a slightly larger side port, and it's hard to access this part of the capsular excess through the main incision. And I just continue it as any other capsular excess and turn the tag into a flap. So a roughly circular shape of a capsular excess is performed. So it's always better to be safe in such scenarios.